What's up everybody, and thank you for joining me for another video. My name is Whack4863, but you can call me Whack. This will be the last video in my series of Best Thralls. I brought you a video of Best Thralls based on their melee damage modifier, a video about Best Thralls based on their range damage modifier, and today I'm going to go over the Best Thralls based on the hit points that they gain as they level up in vitality. Now, if you want a complete list of the Thralls and their attributes, I'll put a link to a Google Docs spreadsheet in the description of this video. Xavier puts that together on a regular basis. Basically, every time there's a new chapter, he's got an update for it, and you can check out the stats for your favorite Thrall in that spreadsheet. Jumping right into the highest hit point gain categories, we have three groups of Thralls here that honestly I'm on the fence on whether I recommend or not. You guys will have to decide for yourself after I give you the numbers. Jumping right into it, we have the Bearer 1s that only come in the Surge on Siptah. This group gains 282.18 hit points per point in Vitality. They start out with 0 in Strength, 0 Agility, 1 in Vitality, and 0 in Grit, and they have 1002 starting hit points. Their melee and ranged damage modifiers are so low at 0.14 that I can't necessarily recommend using them as a Thrall. However, if you're looking for something to just be a distraction that you don't have to worry about dying necessarily because it's got so much hit points, this group and a few others that I'm going to show you could suit your needs. The next group are the Bearer 3s, and now it doesn't matter whether you find these in the Exiled Lands or the Isle of Siptah, they should all be the same. So, the Bearer 3s start out with 0 in Strength, 0 Agility, 3 in Vitality, and 0 in Grit, and they have 2042 starting hit points. Their melee and range damage modifiers are the same at 0.40. Now that's not terrible compared to some of the Thralls later on, like the named Bearers, which I'll cover, that only have a 0.50 melee damage modifier. So the level 3 Bearer is actually pretty good in this sense because it does gain a lot more hit points. And then we have the level 2 Bearers. Again, these Bearers only come in the Surge over on Siptah. But they start out with 0 in Strength, 0 Agility, 2 in Vitality, and 0 in Grit, with 1286 starting hit points. Their ranged and melee damage modifiers are the same at 0.228. Now these three groups make up 30 different Thralls that you can tame, about 10 in each one of the categories. And the nice thing about these three groups is they are all fast levelers. Now honestly, I considered cutting this next group just completely out of the list because all of these next Thralls that I'm going to show you are only obtainable through the Surge on the Isle of Siptah. Jumping right into the first group, these are all Exiles that come in the Surge. They are all Exile 1 Archers, Fighters, or Entertainers. Their hit points gained per point in Vitality is 211.64. They come out of the box with 0 in Strength, 0 Agility, 1 in Vitality, and 0 in Grit, and they start with 751 hit points. Their ranged and melee damage modifiers are 0.70. The next group are level 3 Bearers, again, that only come in the Surge, and they gain 202.18 hit points per point in Vitality. They come out of the box with 0 in Strength, 0 Agility, 3 in Vitality, and 0 in Grit, and they start out with 1470 hit points. Their ranged and melee damage modifiers are 0.32. The next group of Thralls all gain 185.39 hit points when leveled in Vitality. These again are level 2 Fighters, Archers, and Entertainers from the Exile Surge on the Isle of Siptah. And their melee damage modifiers vary between 0.798 and 0.836. And their ranged damage modifiers vary between 0.0798 and 1.197. They come out of the box with 0 in Strength, 0 Agility, 2 in Vitality, and 0 in Grit, and 964 starting hit points. So really, the only Thrall that I can recommend going after out of this entire list that I've shown you is the Bearer 3 with 282 hit points. And the reason why I say that is they are much easier to obtain, and I can tell you where to find this particular Thrall very easily. They're going to spawn all across the Exiled Lands out in the open, as well as the Isle of Siptah out in the open or in cages. We're now going to move on to the highest hit point gain per point in Vitality for named Thralls. 182.52 hit points every time they level in Vitality. And believe it or not, all these bearers are fast levelers, so if you can get your hands on one, you are going to be able to level them up quite quickly. Now they come out of the box with 0 in strength, 0 in agility, 15 in vitality, and 0 in grit. And they start out with 4,037 hit points. They have a melee damage modifier of 0.50 and a ranged damage modifier of 0.50. Now I'm sure in the comments somebody's going to ask about the bearers from the Isle of Siptah, so I'll cover those for you right now. The bearers from the Isle of Siptah actually only gain 47.42 hit points per point in Vitality, and that actually takes them completely off the list of Thralls that I'm going to show you in this video for the top hit points gained per point in Vitality. They are all normal levelers. They come out of the box with 20 in strength, 0 agility, 15 vitality, and 10 in grit. And they start out with 2,687 hit points. Their melee damage modifier and range damage modifier are the same at 0.80. Now, a lot of these bearers are starting to come in the Purge on the Exiled Lands and the Isle of Siptah, so you know the stats for them, although they do not make today's list. The next category of Thralls gains 126 hit points per point leveled in Vitality. And there's a total of 8 Thralls here, 4 of which happen to be archers, and 4 of which happen to be fighters. Now, all of these Thralls appear to be rescuable from the cages in the Purge. We have Captain Bree, Harris Flickerfinger, Narcissa Firesight, Para Strongbow, Captain Maris, Captain Poskor, Freebooter Mirik, and Keprel the Buccaneer. They start out with 1 in strength, 30 agility, 3 vitality, and 2 in grit. And they have 1,778 starting hit points. All 8 of these Thralls are fast levelers as well. Now, there are a couple of differences with them. The 4 on the left are the archers, the 4 on the right are the fighters. The 4 archers have a melee damage modifier of 1.548 and a ranged damage modifier of 1.2384. The fighters, which are the 4 on the right, all have a melee damage modifier of 1.3416 and a ranged damage modifier of 2.322. Which is interesting because the archers have a higher melee damage modifier and a lower range damage modifier, and the fighters have a higher ranged damage modifier and a lower melee damage modifier. The next group of Thralls gains 112.61 hit points per point leveled in Vitality. These are all normal speed levelers, and half of them are archers again, and the other half are fighters. And according to the wiki, these guys all come through the Purge. Starting off, we have Hunter Denu, and then Hunter Maru, Terra the Prowler, Turis the Predator, Aran the Howler, Ezekiel the Mad, Pelu the Bloodletter, and Sail the Fierce. They come out of the box with 0 in strength, 30 in agility, 0 in vitality, and 15 in grit. They have 1,568 starting hit points. Now again, the 4 that are on the left-hand side of the screen are all archers, and the 4 that are on the right-hand side of the screen are all fighters. The archers have a melee damage modifier of 1.548 and a range damage modifier of 1.2384. The fighters have a melee damage modifier of 1.3416 and a ranged damage modifier of 1.548. Again, to me, those numbers seem flip-flopped and like they should be on the other set of Thralls. Jumping into the next category, this set of Thralls gains 110.88 hit points per point leveled in Vitality. And again, these are 4 archers and 4 fighters, all of which appear to come in the Purge. Now, this group are all fast levelers again. So we have Pharos the Ravager, we have Captain Derep, we have Noralia of the Desert Seas, we have Zara the Crazed, Captain Oda, Freebooter Argus, and Yella the Siren. They come out of the box with 1 in strength, 30 in agility, 3 in vitality, and 2 in grit. They have 1,564 starting hit points. Now, just like the groups before them, the archers and fighters have different melee damage modifiers and range damage modifiers. So let's start off with Pharaohs the Ravager. He has a 1.29 melee damage modifier, but he has a 1.54 range damage modifier. This is actually an archer in this group that has a higher range damage modifier than their melee damage modifier. Captain Derep, Norelia of the Desert Seas, and Zara the Crazed all have a melee damage modifier of 1.29 and a ranged damage modifier of 1.032. That takes care of the group on the left-hand side of the screen. On the right-hand side of the screen, they all share the same melee damage modifier at 1.118. However, Captain Oda and Freebooter Argus have a 1.935 range damage modifier, and then Captain Hermetis and Yella the Siren both have a 1.29 ranged damage modifier. Now, this thrall stands alone in its category, gaining 110.03 hit points when leveling in vitality. This is the Black Hand Spy Archer. They come out of the box with 0 in strength, 7 in agility, 0 in vitality, and 0 in grit. And they have 726 starting hit points. Their melee damage modifier is 0.9975, and their ranged damage modifier is 0.9975 as well. And they are a fast leveler. And as you may know, the Black Hand Spy Archer has a guaranteed spawn out at Flotsam. Now, the next group of thralls all gain 106.53 hit points per point leveled in vitality. Now, you might be saying, whack, there's only one thrall there. Well, it's really easy. These guys are the Devotees that you find in the volcano. 2 of them have a higher range damage modifier than the rest, but the rest of the stats are all the same, and there's no way for me to direct you on how to find the ones that have a higher range damage modifier in game. So I'm going to lump them all together into one. The Devotee starts out with 1 in strength, 0 in agility, 1 in vitality, and 0 in grit. They have 1,588 starting hit points. Now, if you get lucky and you find one of the 2 that have the higher range damage modifier, that would be 2.4. Otherwise, all of these thralls have a ranged and a melee damage modifier that's exactly the same at 1.6. Now, these guys are slow levelers. Out of all of the thralls that I've showed you today, they are going to take the longest to level up. Now, the last thralls that I'm going to show you today gain 94.5 hit points per point leveled in vitality. They are both fast levelers, and they both have guaranteed spawns in the Exiled Lands. Now, here's who you're looking for: Gallo the Spearden and Hecker Wave Runner. They are both fighters, they are both fast levelers, and they share the exact same stats. They come out of the box with 1 in strength, 30 in agility, 3 in vitality, and 2 in grit. They start out with 1,333 total hit points. Their melee damage modifier is 1.677, and their range damage modifier is 1.548. Now, this concludes a series of videos on which thralls are the best in game based on their stats and their different modifiers. However, I do have a video coming very soon where I'm going to show you the thralls that have guaranteed spawns from this series, so keep an eye out for that. Don't forget to whack the like button on your way out, and let me know in the comment section below which of these thralls are you going to knock out. I'd like to thank all my YouTube members for their continued support. Y'all are absolute legends. If you are looking for the thralls that have the highest range damage modifier, I'll link that on the screen right now, and you can get over there and check it out.